There are stories, whispers really, that speak of groups hidden in the shadows of history. Not governments, not cults, not conspiracies, but brotherhoods. Silent orders of seekers, mystics, and guardians who have carried the torch of esoteric wisdom through the rise and fall of civilizations. They left behind no banners, no monuments, no public declarations, only symbols, encoded teachings, and strange coincidences woven into the tapestry of time. And here is the question that should make every curious mind tremble just a little. What if the greatest secrets of human consciousness were never lost, merely protected? Protected by those who believed the world was not ready. Protected by those who walked between the visible and invisible realms. Protected by those who understood that knowledge, in the wrong hands, becomes a weapon. Tonight, we step into this forgotten world. This is not a journey into sensationalism. It is a journey into the deeper currents beneath history, into the hidden networks of sages, alchemists, astronomers, and seers who shaped the evolution of human thought while remaining nameless, faceless, and almost undetectable. In this video, we will explore the mysterious brotherhoods of hidden knowledge, the orders that claimed descent from ancient civilizations, the secret fraternities that influenced the spiritual architecture of the world, and the mystical lineages said to possess teachings capable of altering consciousness itself. We'll venture into stories of desert mystics guarding star maps older than recorded history, monks who carried fragments of cosmic wisdom across continents, alchemists who encoded living truths in symbols, and wanderers who spoke of initiatory paths that could awaken dormant human potential. But more importantly, we'll explore why these brotherhoods existed at all, and why their wisdom was concealed behind veils, initiations, and riddles. By the end of this journey, you may begin to sense that our world is far more layered, far more intentionally structured than it appears. That beneath the chaos of modern life lies an ancient heartbeat, pulsing with the legacy of those who preserved the light in ages of darkness. So breathe deeply, center your awareness, because once you glimpse the world of hidden brotherhoods, you may never look at history or yourself the same way again. To understand the mysterious brotherhoods of hidden knowledge, we must step far beyond the borders of conventional history, into the twilight zones where myth, philosophy, and ancient memory merge. Long before the rise of organized religion or nation-states, early human cultures believed that knowledge itself was sacred. It was not simply information, it was power, responsibility, and spiritual initiation. In the cradle of ancient civilizations, from the sands of Kem to the mountains of Central Asia, certain individuals began to notice patterns in nature, the cycles of stars, the mysteries of consciousness. These were the first adepts, the first seekers, the ones who peered behind the veil. According to esoteric tradition, the earliest brotherhoods formed not to control knowledge, but to protect it. In eras when superstition, tribal conflict, and political turmoil threatened anyone who diverged from the common belief, these groups sought to preserve, refine, and transmit wisdom through selective, disciplined lineages. Their teachings were passed from teacher to student through secret symbols, coded manuscripts, and immersive initiations. One of the earliest examples lies within the legendary priesthood of Thoth, said to guard teachings on cosmic order, geometry, and the hidden structure of the soul. In Mesopotamia, similar groups studied the stars, believing that the movements of the heavens reflected laws governing consciousness. The Vedic rishis, meanwhile, formed their own spiritual lineages, guarding mantras and meditative methods capable of altering perception. Later came the Pythagoreans, more than mathematicians. They were a mystical fraternity devoted to the harmony between the human soul and the cosmos. Their secrets were not numerical tricks, but profound insights into the vibrational nature of existence. From their ideas would emerge the frameworks that later secret brotherhoods adopted: initiation, silence, symbolic teaching, and the gradual unveiling of deeper truths. Then, in the deserts of the Middle East, emerged groups like the Essenes, who embraced purification, inner transformation, and prophetic understanding. And across Persia, The Magi studied the interplay between light and darkness, not as moral opposites, but as metaphysical forces within the human psyche. In each era, these groups remained hidden for a reason. Their teachings challenged the power structures of the world. Knowledge that empowers the individual threatens any system built on fear or obedience. To protect their wisdom and themselves, they withdrew from public life, embedding their teachings in symbols, rituals, and myths. As history progressed, their legacy splintered into countless forms. Alchemical brotherhoods of medieval Europe, Sufi orders in the Islamic world, Taoist alchemists in China, Kabbalistic circles in Spain and the Middle East, and the shadowy fraternities that emerged during the Renaissance. Despite cultural differences, they shared three defining principles. Knowledge must serve transformation, not ego. Truth must be veiled until the student is ready to receive it. Human consciousness is capable of far more than society allows. These brotherhoods were never about secrecy for its own sake. They were guardians of an ancient blueprint, preserving humanity's forgotten potential through ages of darkness and upheaval. And now, in the modern world, where information is everywhere but understanding is rare, their presence feels strangely familiar, as if their symbols still echo across time, waiting for new seekers to recognize them. To understand the mysterious brotherhoods of hidden knowledge, we must first shed the image of secret societies as portrayed in fiction. These brotherhoods were not smoky rooms filled with conspirators plotting global dominance. They were something far older and far more enigmatic. Imagine this. Across thousands of years, scattered around the world, small groups of individuals, unknown to one another yet guided by the same inner calling, began forming pockets of wisdom. Places where seekers could study truths too subtle, too powerful, or too disruptive for the average mind. At the heart of these brotherhoods was a single principle. Truth is not taught. It is unveiled. Members were not chosen for their wealth, birth, or status, but for something deeper, an inner resonance, a hunger for understanding, a capacity to perceive what others dismissed. And that is why their teachings always came in stages, wrapped in symbols, metaphors, and paradoxes. A seeker had to earn the ability to decode what lay before them. These groups operated much like ancient lighthouses, quiet, steady, guiding those capable of perceiving the faint glow through the fog of ordinary existence. Let's break down the essence of these brotherhoods into three foundational concepts. 1. Knowledge was seen as a living force. To the initiates, knowledge was not a collection of facts. It was a living current, a spiritual energy that could elevate or destroy depending on the consciousness of the one who wielded it. This is why teachings on the nature of the soul, the structure of the cosmos, or the mechanics of subtle energy were never shared openly. Without readiness, the student might misunderstand the lessons, twist them, or harm themselves. This wasn't elitism. It was spiritual responsibility. 2. Symbols were the language of the brotherhoods. Because direct explanations could be dangerous or incomplete, the brotherhood spoke through symbols. A serpent coiled around a staff, a triangle interwoven with a circle, a star with hidden geometries, a number repeated in ancient texts. These were not decorative. They were compressed teachings, philosophical equations encoded into imagery. One symbol could reveal multiple truths depending on the level of the initiate. And because symbols bypass the rational mind, they allowed seekers to experience meaning directly, not just intellectually. This is why the same symbols appear across cultures that never interacted. The spiral, the key, the labyrinth, the flame. They are fragments of a universal wisdom tradition. 3. Transformation was the true goal. The brotherhoods never aimed to create scholars. They aimed to create transformed beings. Their focus was not on memorizing secrets, but on becoming a vessel capable of receiving them. The rituals, meditations, disciplines, and initiations were designed to reshape consciousness, to refine perception, to dissolve inner illusions. Only then could the deeper teachings be understood. In this way, The Brotherhoods served as inner sanctuaries, places where personal evolution was accelerated, where seekers learned to perceive hidden layers of reality, where the mind, body, and spirit could be aligned with higher principles. But the deeper mystery remains. Who started these brotherhoods? Were they simply humans with extraordinary insight? Or were they heirs to a lineage far older than recorded civilization? Many traditions suggest that the earliest brotherhoods did not originate with humans at all, but with beings of exceptional consciousness who walked this earth in ancient ages. Whether symbolic or literal, the message is clear. The brotherhoods saw themselves as custodians of a wisdom older than history. In the next section, we'll dive into the deeper layers of this enigma, the hidden meanings behind the brotherhood's practices, the myths surrounding their origins, and the paradoxes that make them so compelling even today. As we step deeper into the inner workings of these mysterious brotherhoods, we move from the observable to the concealed, from what they taught to why they taught the way they did. This is where the story shifts from historical curiosity to metaphysical intrigue. Because behind every symbol, every ritual, every oath of silence, there is a profound, paradoxical truth about human consciousness itself. The veiled origins. Many esoteric traditions whisper that the earliest brotherhoods did not originate independently across different cultures. They were the remnants of an ancient teaching that survived a cataclysm, perhaps one remembered in myths as the Flood, the fall of Atlantis, or the destruction of Lemuria. Rather than a single event, think of it as a collective forgetting. As humanity fell into denser states of awareness, these groups attempted to preserve fragments of a higher wisdom, encoded in rituals and symbols that could survive the passage of time. Some texts hint at teachers of the dawn, enigmatic figures who brought mathematics, astronomy, healing arts, and metaphysical knowledge to early human groups. Whether these beings were literal, symbolic, or part of a mythic inheritance, the message is clear. The brotherhoods saw themselves not as inventors, but as guardians of something older than civilization. The architecture of mystery. At first glance, the secrecy of these brotherhoods might seem unnecessary. Why not share all wisdom freely? But the deeper you look, the more you realize that their secrecy was less about exclusion and more about protection, not of themselves, but of the teachings. To them, profound truths were like powerful medicines. In the right dose, they healed. In the wrong dose, they could unbalance the mind, inflate the ego, or spark chaos. This is why initiations often involved paradoxes, trials, or symbolic deaths. They were not theatrical, but psychological recalibrations, preparing the seeker to receive deeper layers safely. A classic example: the alchemical marriage. On the surface, it seems like mystical poetry about blending masculine and feminine forces. But to an initiate, it represented the reconciliation of internal opposites, reason and intuition, discipline and surrender. Only someone who embodied this inner harmony could proceed to more advanced teachings. The paradox of revelation. One of the most fascinating aspects of these brotherhoods is the paradox running through their teachings. The greatest truths cannot be spoken. They can only be realized. This is why symbols, riddles, and metaphors were central. Words form beliefs. Experiences form understanding. A teacher could speak for years, but a single moment of inward revelation, triggered by a symbol, a meditation, a ritual, could rewrite a seeker's entire reality. Thus, the brotherhoods offered experiences, not merely information. Their goal was to trigger transformations that could not be undone. The myth of power. Over time, rumors spread that these brotherhoods sought political influence or worldly power. But if you examine their teachings, a different picture emerges. They consistently emphasized humility, inner mastery, and service. In their view, true power was not the ability to dominate the world, but the ability to master oneself. The legends of hidden libraries, underground chambers, forbidden manuscripts, these are often poetic exaggerations of something much simpler, yet far more profound. The library was the initiate's mind. The chamber was the inner self, and the forbidden manuscripts were the dormant capacities of human consciousness. The Brotherhoods today, do these Brotherhoods still exist? Not in the romanticized form of hooded figures meeting in candlelit catacombs, but their legacy continues in subtle ways. Every spiritual tradition with layered teachings, every philosophy that begins with ethics and ends with mysticism, every system that emphasizes inner transformation over external ritual, is echoing the ancient structure of these Brotherhoods. And perhaps most surprisingly, the modern seeker who studies, questions, meditates, and transforms is part of this lineage, not through membership, but through resonance. The Brotherhoods were never about belonging. They were about awakening. In the next section, we turn to you, the modern seeker, and explore how these ancient principles can be applied in daily life, transforming your inner world in ways that the Brotherhoods themselves would recognize. Practical application. The mystery of hidden Brotherhoods is not meant to remain an abstract tale locked away in ancient manuscripts. The deeper message these groups preserved, the true essence of their work, is that every human being carries the potential to awaken, refine, and elevate their consciousness. Their rituals, symbols, and disciplines were not relics. They were methods, timeless practices to activate inner wisdom. Here are the principles and exercises that translate their ancient teachings into modern life. 1. The practice of inner silence. Every Brotherhood began with silence, not as punishment, but as initiation. Silence creates space for the subtle, the unseen, the intuitive. Try this. Set aside 5 minutes a day to sit in complete stillness. Focus not on clearing the mind, but on listening. Notice the hum beneath your thoughts, the quiet thread of awareness observing everything. This is the doorway through which ancient wisdom first enters. Over time, this practice sharpens perception, heightens intuition, and allows you to sense deeper layers of reality, just as the adepts once did. 2. Symbolic reflection. Brotherhoods taught through symbols because symbols communicate directly with the subconscious. Choose a symbol, a triangle, a serpent, a circle, a key, and meditate on it, not intellectually but experientially. Ask, what does this awaken within me? Let impressions arise naturally. You may experience subtle emotional shifts, images, or insights. This is not imagination. It is the subconscious speaking a forgotten language. With practice, symbols become tools for inner transformation. 3. The alignment of inner opposites. One of the core initiatory lessons across Brotherhoods was the reconciliation of opposites, what alchemists called the alchemical marriage. In modern terms, this is the integration of conflicting inner forces: discipline versus creativity, ambition versus surrender, logic versus intuition. Exercise. Identify 2 parts of yourself that feel in tension. Instead of suppressing one, imagine them meeting in a space of golden light. Visualize them merging, complementing one another. Feel the internal harmony this creates. This practice increases clarity, reduces inner conflict, and unlocks intuitive intelligence. 4. The ethical foundation. Every ancient order, no matter how mystical, emphasized ethics, not moral rules, but vibrational alignment. They taught that one cannot receive higher wisdom while living in states of resentment, envy, fear, or deceit. These states distort perception. Begin by practicing integrity in speech, honesty with yourself, compassion that isn't performative, accountability without shame. Ethics lift your frequency, making you receptive to deeper truths. 5. The 3 questions of the adept. Many Brotherhoods gave initiates riddles, not to test intelligence, but to sharpen awareness. You can adapt this practice through self-inquiry. Ask yourself daily, what am I seeking? Why am I seeking it? Who am I becoming as I walk this path? These questions cut through illusion and bring you back to the essence of your journey. 6. Creating a space for wisdom. The ancient Brotherhoods used temples, caves, or chambers. You don't need such places, but you can create a symbolic space. Designate a small corner for spiritual work, a candle, a stone, a symbol, nothing elaborate. This becomes your inner sanctuary, a reminder that your consciousness is sacred ground. The teachings of the Brotherhoods were never about secrecy. They were about readiness. Their deepest message was simple. You are capable of becoming the seeker, the initiate, and the wise one. The lineage continues through your practice. As we reach the end of this journey into the mysterious brotherhoods of hidden knowledge, one truth becomes unmistakably clear. These secret lineages were never about secrecy for its own sake. They were about preservation, preserving wisdom through centuries of chaos, ignorance, and upheaval. They understood that knowledge is alive, that it breathes, transforms, and illuminates only when the seeker is ready to receive it. Across time, these brotherhoods served as silent guardians of the human spirit. They knew that our greatest power does not lie in the external world, in wealth, titles, or influence, but in the capacity of consciousness to awaken, evolve, and transcend its limitations. They saw human beings not as passive creatures of circumstance, but as initiates of a grand mystery, capable of becoming channels for insight, harmony, and transformation. And perhaps the most profound realization is this: the brotherhoods were never meant to remain in the past. Their legacy continues wherever someone seeks truth with sincerity, courage, and humility. You don't need robes, rituals, or secret chambers to walk this path. You don't need to join a hidden order or gain entry to an exclusive circle. The true brotherhood is internal, a lineage of awareness that awakens the moment you begin listening to the quiet voice of intuition, studying the symbols that call to you, practicing the inner disciplines that refine the mind and open the heart. Whether you realize it or not, by engaging with this knowledge, by questioning, reflecting, and seeking deeper understanding, you are already stepping onto the path the ancient adepts once walked. So now the question turns to you. What will you do with this glimpse behind the veil? Will you let it remain a curiosity, or will you let it become a doorway? If this exploration resonated with you, if it stirred something ancient, something familiar within your spirit, share your thoughts in the comments. Let your voice become part of the ongoing lineage of seekers. And if you're ready to continue exploring esoteric wisdom, hidden histories, and the deeper architecture of consciousness, stay connected. There are many more mysteries waiting to be unveiled. Until then, walk with awareness, walk with intention, and remember, the real initiation begins within.